Hey, my friends, it's Rich Lewis. I hope you're doing well today. So, today is my latest installment in my Did You Know teaching series. It has been a minute. I think it's actually been a few months since the last time I posted a video. Thank you for being patient with me as I'm trying to unpack all these different things I'm hoping to share with y'all. Today is going to be video number 20. It's going to be a short video. It is going to be covering, of all things, the connection between Thanksgiving and the Atonement. Now, this is Thanksgiving week, and everyone's excited about gathering together with family and friends and eating, lots of eating. Turkeys, frying them, baking them, smoking them, barbecuing them, whatever you want to do with them. Okay, it's going to be fun. There's going to be pies and cakes and treats, and people you hadn't seen in a while, people you're kind of like, I don't really want to see them, but that's okay. Okay, it's normal. It's normal. Okay, I don't have anyone in my atmosphere that I feel that way towards. Love y'all. Can't wait to see y'all tomorrow. So with that said, I want to give you this connection between the two things because you're thinking Thanksgiving, the Atonement. Wait a minute, isn't that Easter when we talk about the Atonement? Yes, but I promise you, it's going to be fun to look at this, and it's going to get us ready for some future videos that I'm hoping to unpack some other concepts with you. So here we go. Let's jump in and buckle in. Did you know that the concept of thankfulness and thanksgiving is actually connected with specific words that are used in Scripture to describe the atonement? I gotta admit, I did not make that connection before I started this journey over 10 years ago, and the things I learned, oh my gosh, it was so cool. So where we want to start off today is I want to bring back my little sidekick, my handy dandy whiteboard. He's been on the sidelines for a while here, and I really hope I can work it to where I don't blind y'all too much. All right, so you see the word thankful in the middle right here, okay? This concept of being thankful. Well, let's start down at the bottom and work our way up, okay? So the bottom down here, you see the word the Eucharist, okay? Some of y'all are familiar with that word. Some of you heard of it before. You don't quite know what it is. The Eucharist is a fancy word that we use to describe the Last Supper, okay? The Last Supper of Jesus when he's connecting with the disciples. This is getting ready to go to the cross. And so the word the Eucharist, the Last Supper, is actually one of two sacraments that we as Christians, as Jesus followers, that we tend to celebrate on a yearly basis, and sometimes more than just once a year. Okay, and so for instance, the Last Supper, when you take communion, so to speak, okay, that's something that we practice regularly, and also the sacrament of baptism. That's something that most of us practice at least once. Some of us practice it more than once, but that's okay. We choose to agree to disagree on those kind of theological points, and so. The Last Supper, the word Eucharist, it actually, let me see if I can quit blinding y'all. Okay, can't quite get my lights just right. The word Eucharist actually comes from the Greek word Eucharistia. Okay, and the word Eucharistia, it literally means to give thanksgiving. So that's kind of cool. It's like the Last Supper is literally talking about giving thanksgiving. Well, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So the word, I gotta get my finger right. The word Eucharistia actually connects to the word kairo. Okay, now that's a little side note. We'll talk about that another time in more detail. And the word kairo actually connects to this top word up here, airo. Okay, the word airo, it means, the best translation I have found for it, it means to lift something up. Okay, and so this is where it's connected to the book of John. We'll go ahead and set that down. The book of John, chapter 15, is a really cool passage right there, okay? If you're familiar with it, you'll know that it's the one where it's talking about, Jesus is talking about he is the vine, we are the branches, the Father, he's the vineyard owner. And I remember there was this little book years ago that I found called Secrets of the Vine by Bruce Wilkinson. Now, if that name rings a bell, or it may not ring a bell, his main claim to fame, he wrote a little book before that. He wrote these little tiny books. They're really tiny. They take like an hour to read or less, depending on how fast of a reader you are. But I got something on my shirt right there. He wrote this book called The Prayer of Jabez, and that got him really popular, like international fame, that kind of stuff. And that was a good book. But his follow-up, his second book, The Secrets of the Vine, that was my favorite out of all the books that he wrote. And it was the entire purpose of that book was talking about John chapter 15 in the New Testament, and it's really cool the things that he taught through that. Because there's some different ways to interpret that word airo. Okay, most if not pretty much the majority, if not maybe all of our English translations, they translate that word in verse 2 as either to cut something off or to take something away, which is really kind of confusing because any branch that does not produce fruit, it's taken away or it's cut off, and it's like well, why would he do that? Like that it makes you kind of scared when you read it like that. But that word can also mean to lift something up. And context-wise, if you understand how vineyards work and how vine dressers work, then you start to realize, oh, that word actually should be translated as to lift something up, because what you're dealing with, a branch that's not able to produce fruit, it's a sick branch. It's got something wrong with it. And more to come another time. I may do a full video just talking about all the really cool concepts in there. But basically, any vineyard owner will tell you that some branches will grow wildly. Okay, when they grow kind of wild, they get down in the dirt. And when they get in the dirt and it rains, and now you've got the dirt and the water coming together, it creates this mud, this mud covering on the branch, and what it's doing is suffocating the branch, and that's why it can't produce fruit. And so that's why they go up and down their different rows looking for those branches that are dying. This is why they can't produce. They're dying from suffocation because they can't do photosynthesis. They can't get the oxygen, the air. The carbon dioxide and the sunlight and the water. And so they have to go over there and they have to clean them. And it's a meticulous process of cleaning them to where it's scraping all of that covering off of them. And now they can breathe again, and they tie them up on the trellis so they can dry out and then get sunlight, and then they start coming to life again and producing fruit. And so it's really cool how that works. Well, that's a much better way of understanding what Jesus is trying to teach there. He's not saying like, oh, you don't produce, I'm going to cut you off. No, he's saying I'm going to lift you up and I'm going to take care of you, just like these vineyard owners right here. So like I said, more to come with that. In fact, kind of getting you ready for that. So this really is connected to the idea of the atonement and what Jesus did as his atoning sacrifice on the cross for you and for me and for all of us. I mean, that's what I talk about, ultimate redemption. Like, he's done this for all of us, and he's going to win all of us over at some point in one way, shape, form, or another. Well, I'm hoping to do probably a 4-part series on the atonement where we look at 4 key words, 4 key concepts that are used to describe the atoning sacrifice of Christ, okay? And so when we get into it, and I'm going to challenge some of the traditional translations of these different words because they're so powerful and they all connect back to that word airo. Okay, it's so cool how it works. But 4 concepts of lifting, loosening, cleansing, and covering. Lifting, loosening, cleansing, and covering. If you were to tie it together briefly, you would say when Jesus died for us on the cross and came back to life, okay, he lifted something off of us that was suffocating us, okay? He lifted it off of us by loosening it, all right? And he cleansed us. He is a cleaning process. And then he took this old covering that was on us and put a brand new covering upon us, that covering being him. Is so powerful when you start to realize the metaphors and the symbolism within the meanings of those words and what they're doing to describe. Did Jesus pay it all for us? Yeah, and that's the most common way of looking at the atonement today, this idea of he paid some kind of fee or a payment so much for us to free us. And that there is an element of that in there, but it's not the most powerful metaphor. These other ideas of cleaning us and stripping something away and giving us a brand new covering, they're so much more powerful. But like I said, more to come on that. So as you get together with those family members that you can't wait to see and you can't wait to say goodbye to and all the above, my hope for you is that you will try your best to practice this attitude of gratitude, of being thankful and grateful, even if you've been through hell and back this year, even if it's just been a horrible year for you. I just hope, my prayer for you is that you can find at least a little something to grab onto to practice that thankfulness, because you're going to feel so much better. Other people are going to feel better around you. And just remember, when it comes to Christ, when it comes to Jesus, there's always hope, guys. There's no such thing as a hopeless situation. So I just, that's my prayer for you, is that you enjoy that time together with family and friends, and that you just let that thankfulness cover you completely. And until then, well, I hope this encouraged you today. Until then, until the last heart is won, we'll jump in next time, and I'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.